Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I am exploring intrusive thoughts, and this session has been a request that somebody made. And intrusive thoughts, the whole idea of that is really interesting, isn't it? And when I looked it up on Google, it was all about thoughts that sort of seem to intrude, so i.e. come into our lives unwanted, I guess, is one of the main things. Unwanted thoughts that come up, and I guess they're the ones that we want to get rid of, aren't they? And here's the thing, actually, when you think about it. It is the desire to get rid of an intrusive thought that makes it intrusive. Because if I have a thought about having a sandwich that pops into my head, and I'm gluten intolerant, so sometimes I do fancy a sandwich, and gluten-free bread's just not the same, really, is it, as other bread? That thought is okay until I say it's not okay, until I look at that thought and go, oh, I don't want to have a thought about having a sandwich. I don't want to have that thought. And there are some things to know about thought which makes it seem less of a thing to do to get rid of them. The first thing is that whether you're having a thought about a sandwich or a thought about anything else, that thought means nothing about you. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean that you need fixing in some way. It doesn't mean anything about you. That's transformational, isn't it? To see that a thought isn't about you. Sometimes those intrusive thoughts might seem like they're about you. But thoughts don't mean anything about you. They don't mean you're a certain kind of person, or that you're broken, or there's something wrong. They just come in sometimes. And some of the ones that come in we don't particularly like. But it is often in these attempts that we make to get rid of those thoughts that get in the way of them going. There's a massive irony to that. So that's the first thing to know about a thought that appears in your head. It doesn't have the meaning that you're giving it. The meaning is what we've created, really, by seeing that thoughts mean something about us, and also by being encouraged to connect to the idea that our thoughts need changing, and that's our responsibility. So that's the first thing. And then thoughts are random. If I have a thought about a sandwich, it's probably just random. I could be in a place where there are sandwiches, and I could have had a thought about eating crisps or that I really don't want a sandwich, or lots of other thoughts are available, there is a randomness to what appears in your head. And there is a space available when we see that that's not ours to control. There's a lot less to do than we might think. When we see the randomness of our thoughts, the randomness of the arrival of them can mean a lot more ease around letting them go. But invariably, it is our focusing on them and trying to make them go that makes them hang around longer. It's so ironic, it really is. So what else is there to know about thoughts that might make those intrusive ones seem a little less problematic? Well, maybe it's what thought really is. You know, when you were born, you didn't have any thinking, really. You know, babies don't really do thinking, especially not like us. And then, you know, from that time onwards, maybe even a little bit before you were born, you started to learn to think. You learnt that from the people around you, the things they said to you. You learnt that from your innocent misunderstandings of what was happening around you. You learnt it from all sorts of different places. But that isn't to do with the core of who you are. It's just the stuff you learn. It's seeing that you are something underneath thought. You are something more than thought. You are the power of the universe and the energy of life and everything else. That's who you really are. Your thinking is just what you learned that you are. None of which is true. And it's also what you learn about the world and how it should be and how things work and what's okay and what's not okay and what things mean, and all of that is just learned. None of it's real. And there is space and freedom when we start to see this. Because the person who asked me to do this live on Intrusive Thoughts wanted me to speak more to trying to control them. And the direction I'm pointing in is really the opposite of that. That it is in the attempts to control that those thoughts become worse, I suppose, and become more problematic. And I think it all starts with the seed of judgment. If I experience a thought, become aware of a thought, and I don't care about it, I don't think it means anything, I don't judge it as being wrong, it will go. Fundamentally, our system is a self-righting system. It doesn't need us to interfere. But if I see that thought as wrong, if I see it's problematic, if I concentrate on it, if I think it might be real or true, or, you know, I think there could be a grain of something I need to watch out for in that thought, if I judge it, it will hang around longer. And it's because I'll be focusing my energy on it. It's when we're doing that we are creating a blockage almost to something that is, you know, our thoughts are like water flowing through a hose pipe, and when we see one we don't like, we stand on the hose pipe and we hold it there. And what happens when you put your foot on a hose pipe that's got water running through it? Eventually something explodes. The hose pipe itself will explode, or will explode off the tip of the other end. The pressure builds up, doesn't it? But what if we started to see our thoughts in a different way? Because that's what I'm pointing to. I'm not pointing to anything around us trying to change our thoughts, because that is not helpful. But when we start to see that our thoughts, what our thoughts actually are, that they are random, that they are flowing, that they don't mean anything about you, then it becomes easier and easier to let them go, and then they become less intrusive. Because in order for something to be intrusive, we have to not want it there. Like if somebody walks into my house and they're a friend and I want them in my house, then they're not an intruder. It's only as soon as I judge somebody as not being allowed in my house that they become an intruder, and our thoughts are just the same. It can only be intrusive if we decide that it is. And that's just more thinking. So when we see that, I'm not going to tell you to allow your thoughts, but the more you see what thought is, the more you change your relationship with it, the easier it becomes to just allow them to pass through, as they were always meant to do, when we don't get in the way. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.